Hi, I'm Mike Hughes. Welcome to this presentation for Girl in a Gun Club. This 1-hour course is going to have quite a few little modules, as you can see laid out behind me. So feel free to skip wherever you want to go to, but it's also laid out in some form of a logical progression. So of course I do suggest probably going right through it. But again, feel free, it's your journey, jump around as you please. So let's start with just the purpose and focus of this. What we're looking to do here is give you some ideas on some best practices for teaching the fundamentals of shooting. And the fundamentals is absolutely pinnacle for mastery. The fundamentals are so important for safety because proficiency is inextricably intertwined with safety. So we are all about getting the fundamentals down, drilling them, practicing them, getting drills for the home, and even some business logistics as far as getting some students back for a second course, which I'll be talking later on in this presentation. So let's just jump right into it. What I'd like to do is start off with a block of instruction I like to start with in classes, and that is with trigger control. So even if this isn't a beginner class, if it's say like a follow-on class, like an applied fundamentals class or something like that, starting with trigger control is a nice first drill, first block of instruction, because instead of getting all the intricacies of grip, we can get quick wins, so to speak. I'm all about getting some total participation involvement, some quick wins as soon as possible in any kind of class. So that being said, what I'd like to do here is first get a pistol in my in my deal. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show you the search stick later, but I'm going to take the search stick, the pistol comes out, all right, and we got our rifle training, which, well, that's a sneak peek right there, okay? So first thing I like to do is let's get the pistol in my hand, and let's do this trigger control drill. So the block of instruction I would provide in this is pretty simple. It'd pretty much be, okay, everyone just kind of grab high on the pistol right here, okay? And let's go ahead and identify a target in the classroom, and I'll use this little target over here behind me. And then with strong hand only, this strong hand, okay, with left or right hand, whatever their dominant hand is, just line up on target and cook off some rounds, okay? I'm gonna turn the take-up laser off for the purpose of this. So we're just gonna get a few shots here right on target, just like so. Okay, boom, now that's a drill. So let's go into some of the intricacies of this a little bit. So why go strong hand only? Why just go support hand, just with one hand? Well, instead of going grip and starting to do that review and doing all that, it's just kind of nice just to maybe tell the students to grab the SIRT pistol by the muzzle, all right, finger off trigger, of course after your safety blocks, and go nice and high on the pistol. Just kind of jam high and grab. That sets a foundation for grip, but now we can get a win fairly quickly, where they pull trigger and they see results. Another benefit of just going strong hand only, single hand shooting, is you may find that if you get a support hand on it, it tends to stabilize the gun, which is good, but it's bad in this case because it's masking potential trigger control issues. So the definition of trigger control is to break the shot without disturbing the muzzle, okay? Meaning this muzzle stays on line, we break shot, okay? Just pull trigger, press trigger, and muzzle doesn't move. Characteristically, as we all know, for a right-handed shooter, very common deficiency is pulling it low left, just like that, all right? So you see a little target, it kind of like boom. That's the issue. And that is what you can diagnose. So a suggestion on this in your class is, let's say that you start this out and you have people on their feet, and you set it up like an L-shaped or U-shaped pattern, okay? And you've already pre-arranged your classroom, just have some targets on the wall. So I have this silly little, angry bastard, target, on the wall I just put up there. But sticky notes, anything that's small. I mean, low barrier to entry training. One thing that's nice about not using real fancy custom targets is you're showing the students how they can really train at home and anywhere. You're exemplifying that it's low barrier to entry training. So sticky notes work fine, right? If not just natural character around the room. Now for a class, it's nice just to have something specific, like, okay, shoot the burgundy stickies or yellow stickies and such, okay? But point is that it's not much setup and you can get wins very quickly. So what you can instruct when your students are shooting strong hand only, what you can diagnose is stop them and say, okay, and demo yourself, so make sure you're dialed in, right, as far as your own personal training. But tell them the very simple, you want to get the dot and not the dash. You just don't want to see the movement. Very, very simple coaching / cueing point, okay? And what you can start with, what we find that works pretty well, is to simply just give that coaching point and that's it. Okay, get a dot, not a dash, because people can understand that. And instead of getting into some specifics of put your trigger here, your finger here, more or less, or first knuckle or tip, maybe let them kind of explore and find it themselves, okay? And because what they're doing is you gave them the objective, and it's a solid objective, and there's a lot of carryover from that objective to live fire, obviously, all right? So now they're gonna kind of figure out their mechanics. It's like you gave it, you kind of pull the mechanics tight, so you kind of take all the slack out of the line, metaphorically, to get them to that end. So just observe and see if they have better results of just trying to get the nice, clean dot right on target. Now note, we haven't really talked about sight alignment and things like that. If you do note them kind of dropping down like really low and like shooting from here, don't worry about it yet, okay? Because we're kind of having a little bit of discipline as far as what we're trying to teach and the modules, and if you go too much in too many directions, it kind of pulls people too off. So we're not too concerned on sight alignment. These are basically isolation drills. But nonetheless, they have progressions. So here is a next progression just on this trigger control drill. So anyone who wants to shoot with speed and accuracy, all right, the proper full follow through, I'd say follow through is a fundamental, is we prep, break, reset to that click, and then re-prep, okay? Now, that is a full firing cycle, a full procedure. Prep, break, reset, re-prep. Now that reset, that distinctive click as that trigger goes forward to say that halfway point, is not just going slow right to that click. No. That reset is just going forward, pretty fast, because we want to have good, tight, fast splits. Going fast and then re-prepping, okay? So we don't want to go just barely to the click. Think of it as like going forward and back, okay? Now, I'll probably may already know with the SIRT pistol is we can get this little take-up laser switch turned on and use the take-up laser. So if you're not familiar already, when you turn that on, when you prep the trigger, all right? When you prep the trigger, you get that lower red laser. So I'm going to prep, and I get this lower red laser, all right? And when I break, I get that upper laser. On a pro model, it's green. On a performer model, it is red. And greens are really expensive lasers still. Even today, we buy top-of-the-line ones for our pistols. So you can save a little money going red. And of course, we suggest sighting them in. You can sight them in. We have an armorer's course if you need to know this stuff. But you sight them in with these little holes with little 1.5 millimeter hex wrench. So the upper laser is right on line with sight picture, and the lower laser is out of sight picture, all right? Because that lower laser, we don't really want to use it for a sighting aid. We want to use it in this case more to understand when that trigger is pressed. Okay. So that's just some background as far as a little bit of the technology there, but where this really comes in handy in teaching a class just like this is you can set demo that you want to go prep, break, reset, re-prep. And the cueing point, the coaching point, if you explain that, is like, hey, look, basically try to keep the red laser to stay on, okay? And let me demo. So I'm gonna come out, prep, and I'm gonna break, reset, re-prep. And see how that red laser, it went off just for a spell, but it pretty much stayed on. Break, reset, re-prep. Break, reset, re-prep. Break, reset, re-prep. Okay? That's pretty much the drill. Very, very simple. And you can tell this to do students, and you get pretty engaged, all right? They're going to actually have a little bit of fun. They're going to get quick wins off this, and they're going to understand shooting off the reset, that critical skill. Out of, any shooter from any discipline I've experienced, The high performance shooters, they break and they reset and they reprep, all right? So they can always get ready to shoot that second round. I think the FBI statistics, don't totally quote me on this, but it's something like 2.6 or 2.8 rounds in defensive shooting. So, 0.8 round is an average, obviously, but you can round up to say like 3 rounds to get the job done. So it's not about one shot, it's about taking multiple accurate, consecutive, effective, fast shots. So it's that second progression on trigger control right there. Now what can happen at this phase is sometimes the forearms can actually get a little tired, if not the shoulders, all right? So a next progression / variation on this drill is tell your students just to go support hand, okay? So they go support hand. So now they just take the pistols. Logistically, you have them set up, like if it's a classroom type setting, it's nice to have them sort of set so they're not muzzling each other or put them in a position to fail. All right. Again, I'm skipping around here a bit, but I'm presuming, everyone's, I think, here instructors, you already talked about safety blocks and the safety rules. Make sure there's no loaded or any firearms for that matter in your training area. So, after you get those safety blocks in, you can do a lot of training with force on force, but we're not doing that now. Right now, we're going to have a clean shooting area without moving no shoots and such. So that's why I like a L-shaped or a U-shaped sort of pattern of students shooting out, say, whatever distance you can have. 5 yards is nice, 7 if the room's big enough or what have you. Okay, so support hand, all right? That's my left hand. And I really do the same drill. And you can go back to the same progressions if you like. So, okay, with your support hand, go ahead and just get some shots off just like so, all right? And then you can have them turn on the take-up laser, come out and just, see, look at that horrible shot. I'm gonna keep that because I need work there. Now, there are 2 reasons to go with support, 3 reasons to go with support hand. One reason is logistically for a class because, the strong hand gets tired, have them do stuff with their support hand. All right, nothing like getting a lot of reps in, I like a little bit of fatigue in a class, so people feel that sense of endorphins a little bit, right? That they've done something, it wasn't just all cerebral sitting down and all that. But it can get tired, particularly the trigger finger can get tired. So going support hand always works great. Secondly, using support hand for some reason seems to make the strong hand better, more effective. And I don't know the total neurological left brain, right brain linking going on there. I really don't. But from experience and just what I've observed, there's something about, even if you do reps on this hand, I don't have data on this, it seems to help the other hand, okay? They say, there's sympathetic response and this and that, there's some theory behind it, but it doesn't hurt, all right? It doesn't hurt anything for sure, all right? And like we said, time management wise, and instead of just giving a full-on break, don't give a break, just switch hands. That's good enough reason in itself. But there's a third reason. It's just to build proficiency in itself in your support hand, all right? I don't know how you run your classes and all that. I don't like to be too crazy tactical and all this, but you can very much communicate, hey, look, if this hand just doesn't work, it's nice to have your support hand, to be able to do work. You've done some reps on it. It's not completely incompetent, all right, to exercise some of these mechanics, okay? So obviously it's not the primary thing we want to do, shoot with the left hand if you're right-handed, but we want to be skilled and proficient with both hands. So that's some reason and rationale, of course, to go with the support hand. So, and again, with support hand, you can go ahead and do that same progression, all right? So prep, break, reset, and all that. So let's go to the next progression, variation on this very basic drill. And let me just interject right here. Of course, whenever you teach your block on trigger control, these are some great little simple drills to migrate in, okay? You can do it with both hands out there, but again, one hand only is a little bit isolated on an island. You're gonna expose more deficiencies and the trigger control is gonna have to do its work more effectively, okay, with one hand only. But with this next progression, I'd go back to the right hand now, okay, because it's probably had a little bit of a break and we're gonna give this a little bit of a sprint workout. The next progression is to do the same drill as we did before with the take-up laser on, but do it at speed. Try to get 10 shots as quickly as possible. Let me demo and I'll explain it. Demo, as you can imagine, is fairly simple. We're just back here and we just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, try it one more time. Prep up and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, why are we doing this? What are we doing? What's going on here? First off, mechanics at slow speeds are fine and it's a good way to start. When you actually have to exercise any motor neuron mechanics, I call it at speed. That means like at full speed, at full stress, right? At full, as fast as you can do it essentially. Mechanics can fall apart. It's not that the slow reps are bad, it's that if you don't train those mechanics at speed, they're not really there, okay? So I analogize it to this, and I've said this in some other courses if someone's heard this before, but anyways, I analogize it to my son who is shooting free throws, okay? So free throws, I would say, even though they're kind of all at speed and that fluid, it's slow, it's methodical, there's all this form in place as far as, the beef, balance, eyes, elbow, follow through and all that, okay? So those are great reps, but what happens as soon as someone gets in his grill, all right, defensively, and he has to shoot at, really quick and pop shot up? Well, a few years ago when he's just starting this out, his mechanics went very poor, back to the spaghetti arms, the pass to the basket, right? Not that quick setup and send it. It wasn't that the slow, methodical reps were bad. It's just that unless we train our mechanics at speed, they're not solidified. They're not completely intact. They're not totally accessible when we need them under full stress and we want to just go as fast as possible. So it's more of a general principle, and it's just kind of sports science 101 type stuff here. But applying it to our shooting, to our pistol craft, it's very, very relevant because we want our mechanics at speed, okay? So this is just the first introduction to it, and when I say at speed, it's just that simple trigger control. Break, reset, reprep, break, reset, reprep. And again, you can revert back to that coaching point of keep the lower red laser on. So they shoot, they're gonna rep off as fast as they can, and they're gonna keep that lower red laser on. Pretty basic. You'll also notice the dashes are going to come into play a little bit more. You can give them permission to fail cards. I'll talk about that in a little bit. To say, look, don't worry about it. Just try to do the best you can, but try to really hit those mechanics at speed. This exposes their deficiencies, which some students may not need that, but some they may be doing quite well. But now they need to push it and see, okay, I got some headway. I got some space ahead of me to master this skill, all right? So they don't move the muzzle. Because one thing you can note with your students is that a small movement, like even right here in a cert, can translate to sometimes quite a bit of down and left for right-handed shooter pull, right, or dipping or things like that. And I'm sure a lot of you instructors, of course, on live fire range have witnessed that, right? If not from ourselves. Okay, so that is some basics of trigger control and some progressions and some things you can still use, migrate, get total participation involvement, get the notion of diagnostics, that every shot is diagnostic, all right? You're trying to get better every shot because the little lasers, as far as the red and the green, it gives you that feedback to know if it was quality or not. Otherwise, like one of my favorite analogies, again with basketball, is it's like shooting against a brick wall, just a flat, big wall. If you don't have a hoop there, you don't really know if it was good mechanics. You need some kind of feedback to know if it was a swish, like a nice clean thing right, boom, swish, good, that feels good. Or if it's, kaboing or, something bad, okay? Feedback every rep. We'll talk a little bit later about watching the laser and, things like that. But this is to help you kind of get things going, get it started. So that being said, let's go to a next progression on this, and that is grip, all right? So grip, I think, is the most important fundamental, but like I noted, I like to start with trigger control because it's an easy one to get quick wins, all right? So, if you don't have a break already in class, now's a good time, little break, water break, whatever. Of course, do safety checks, make sure no live fire tools in your training area, all that good stuff. So now with grip, let's talk a little bit about some ways of establishing the best grip, all right, and holding it out there, the objectives of it, and also how to get to that position, whether it's from a draw or grabbing off the safe or anything. So our grip establishment is really part and parcel with grip. All right. So here's the things. Let's start with the objectives of grip. All right. And I've talked about this before in other little classes if you've already heard this. But nonetheless, I think it's so important to go forward with the underlying objective of any fundamental, of any task, any drill, or anything like that. Like what are we trying to get to? And I think there's really two good solid fundamentals with grip. The first fundamental of grip is that wherever we're looking at, the grip by the feel of the gun will align the pistol right there. It basically is natural point of aim. All right, so we don't have to, we want to be able to rely on our sights, but we don't have to. Our natural point of aim, our index shooting, our point shooting can extend out further and further and further just by the feel of the gun. And that is really a function of grip. All these little contours, like say I got a cert here, 110, which is functional features of a Glock. You know, the feeling of the back, the feeling of my second knuckles in the front, all that, the feeling of my support hand, all right, into this rear quarter flank area, which I think is pretty important. All that works together, all right, so I can point that gun, all right, without relying on the sights. A second objective of grip relates to live fire. It's that the muzzle returns down to a consistent location, shot after shot after shot. It's a recoil management thing. It's that we have this pressure high on the pistol up here, all right, a little bit of ring finger pressure down here. So after the boom, all right, after that recoil, that we re-engage, the pre-engagement of the muscles is bring that muzzle down to a consistent location, the same location, all right? And then you can rip off another shot or regather your sights. Very contextual at that point, how that next shot goes or is ready to go. All right, so those are the two objectives of grip. But I've kind of, actually, as of late, migrated in a little bit of a third objective of grip, kind of related to that second one. But third objective is to mitigate flinch. Because I see so many shooters, particularly of smaller stature and such, actually, not just smaller stature, I think of all levels of strength and size and experience, that if their grip is loose in any way, they're not engaged, okay, then that boom that goes off gets that, I call it, it's a little bit crass, but I call it FU response. Like, like FU, like someone pushes me, you just want to kind of come back. That little bit of a reactive force comes naturally into play. So then you get anticipation. And then we get flinch, and that is so hard to get rid of, okay? So I think one of the objectives, a further additional objective of grip is flinch mitigation, that we're so engaged on that gun, which helps, of course, with recoil management, returning the muzzle down consistently, but we're so engaged on it that flinch is not going to take foothold. And I'll talk about that just a little bit more here. Let's start right now with the grip establishment and how this can be taught in the classroom. Now, it's kind of your prerogative to go over the objectives of grip or not, or massage your own or what have you. But I do like to get drills in place, keep people busy. All right. So let's say a 2-hour class, they're tired. It was a little bit of a workout. Right. So this is what I suggest, as we kind of did with the trigger control. So that sets a foundation for grip. Grab the muzzle, support hand. Okay. You can tell them don't really go beyond. It's kind of like a brace contact, G-reps, retention shooting, okay, if it's just beyond the scope of this. But grab the muzzle like so, okay? Take your strong hand, all right? Flag the thumb, that means kind of a thumbs up, like flagpole, okay? And go nice and high on the pistol. So this kind of sets the foundation of nice and high in the pistol. A little bit dynamic slam in there, all right? And also kind of keeps that thumb up too, which I like. So it's nice and ready, and we have this rear quarter flank real estate very, very much accessible for this placement of our support hand. So with that in place, now we just roll the fingers in front. We roll those fingers in front, okay? And here's just a little tip too I think it's appropriate for beginners, and I also think it's appropriate all the way up for advanced, In general, it's best to start with your mechanics. There's no really major changes. What you learn from a beginner and the fundamentals extends all the way through to mastery of the pistol. So instead of curling the fingertips inward, all right, we just push straight back and they kind of float. So the awareness is the second knuckles right here, okay, right, the second knuckles, and that just pushes straight back, all right? If you've seen some of my stuff before, you may have seen this and given credit where credit's due. A gentleman named Larry Yatch has kind of taught me on this. But instead of doing that rope grip, because you can actually see if you just do this drill, and it's something you can do with your class too, is say, okay, everyone put their hand up, lower 3 fingers, sag a little bit, go ahead and do a rope grip. That's where you're almost like, if you put your thumb in there, you're grabbing, like trying to wrap all the way around, pressure all evenly all the way around, like you're grabbing a rope, to hang on for dear life, right? So if you do a rope grip, all right, notice that co-contraction with your little index finger. It's pretty nasty, isn't it? All right, it just wants to move with it. And of course, physiologically, this is so because our fingertips have that tendon that goes all the way to our flexor muscles, because as big, hairless apes roaming the earth here, they're just kind of meant to grab and do things with our fingertips, and they work pretty much in unison, all right, like a raccoon, okay? But I guess we're Homo sapiens, whatever we are. So this is physiology which we're fighting. So when our fingertips come in, they all want to come in. However, if we just pivot about big knuckles, and think about it with our objective of the pistol, all right? We just want it to return down a consistent location. So we just need a little pressure on the front. We don't need pressure on the sides. Why would we want pressure on the sides of the pistol? Because anything on the side of the pistol with the thrust going, fore and aft, it's subjective to friction, and friction can change. It's a coefficient of friction. It's not really well clamped or suited, to do anything. So I don't worry about the sides of the pistol. I just worry about fore and aft, all right? Particularly this rear quarter flank area, left and right, and particularly the ring finger area down here. So it kind of helps in that torque. Doesn't really help that much, but helps a little bit to have pressure in front of the pistol here. Okay, that being said, all right, you can do that drill if you like. So have everyone come up and do a rope grip, and then do a C-clamp grip, where you just pivot about big knuckles, all right? You just press rearward, and notice how that trigger finger stays isolated, because we want the trigger finger to be isolated from gripping fingers, okay? Really important, really interesting. This is just straight physiology, and validate for yourself by all means. Again, pivot about big knuckles, like you wave away that sympathetic response, okay? But your fingertips do not come in, okay? Now just take this hand right here. You can tell students, okay, go ahead and just put the pistol in there. All right, finger high index. It's a good time to, as we always know, always look for finger on trigger and correct it accordingly throughout. But they just press straight back. Notice fingertips aren't here. We don't need pressure on the sides. Doesn't help anything. And there we go. It just presses straight back. Now, if you want, I actually kind of like, okay, now just grip like so, and just do the drill again, like shoot, shoot, shoot on the wall. Okay, they're targets. As they just kind of done, but now they're going from a little bit more emphasis mentally on the trigger control to a little bit more emphasis on pressure of these lower 3 fingers, particularly the ring finger pressing straight back. What you can note too is when they do this drill, say, hey, look, notice how your fingers might move just a little bit when you press. It's that co-contraction, it's not a sympathetic response, because it's actually one muscle, all right, pulling that fingertip back, and it's going to act on all fingertips. Well, it's acting on my little gripping fingertip here. I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up or not, if I can zoom it in, but it does just a little bit, but who cares, all right? And actually, you can work on your thumb, too. I remember watching some video of Dave Savigny, a friend of mine, one of the best shooters in the world. His thumb's hammering away, moving, as he's shooting a rapid shot drill up close, but who cares, right? It's not in the picture. These little guys are going to fit in this little pocket area, as I'll describe right now. So that's just some fundamentals on grip and a little bit of physiology on that. But now we're really set up to establish this grip and do a full-on good job, bang-up job with it, because this rear quarter flank area, remember the thumb is flagged. One common deficiency I see is like shooters want to get that thumb down. It wants to help out. The thumb just can't help, right? It doesn't do anything. A revolver grip, I get it, if you shoot wheel gun. But with semi-automatics, pretty much, most of the handguns here, the thumbs can just be pretty much out of the picture. Some people point their thumbs at the target, but I found that to be not really useful or helpful, because where's the target, and where's it related to the gun? If there's some line there you can index off of, fine, but when I go up and down, there's nothing to index off. So pointing to the target, I don't think it hurts, but I just don't personally see how that helps anything. But anyways, point being, with this flag thumb, rear quarter flank area exposed, okay, in the cert, go ahead and have an awareness of the upper fleshy area of the base of the thumb, all right, of your support hand, and just plug it in there, nice and high. I use this analogy like it's like making Pangea. Maybe it's because my kids are little ones, but meaning like, you have Africa and South America, and you go back how many billions of years, and they kind of like met, they're like puzzle piece, all right? Ugly puzzle pieces, sort of like chunky, like that doesn't fit very well, but depending on your belief system and such here too. But, it's kind of what we're doing. We're making an ugly puzzle together, trying to fit this big chunk right here into this area right here. All right, so there we go. Now we're starting to kind of get a grip, which makes sense. One last piece I think is very effective for that second objective of returning the muzzle down to a consistent location is, I call it, that chest squeeze, all right? It's a little bit of upper pectoral contraction, all right? Squeezing the thumbs together, the pliable thumbs together. There's no tension in these thumbs, they're relaxed. Why are they relaxed? Because our chest is gonna squeeze them together. Our chest, and it doesn't take a lot of pectoral muscle, but that compression creates this very solid bedding. So the pistol can impact that bedding consistently. I have tried in the past personally, one of my objectives is to do a 20-yard bill drill, just ripping them off 1600 splits, just all in the age zone, which I think was like 15 by 28 centimeters, all right, for an IPSC target. And I've been trying so many, different ways to try to get that objective, all right? And doing it cold, too. So I just go out to my range and cook off some practice rounds and it's all right there. Unwarmed up, which is very important. I'll talk about more later. Well, what I find is when I tried to do these minute hand adjustments all throughout here with fingertip pressure and all this stuff, it just didn't work. It turned the 1,000-mile journey into a 10,000-mile journey. And we don't want that. We want robust mechanics. We want mechanics that can work in every different scenario, different guns and firearms, so we can just kind of pick up anything and be confident with it, in different mental states, all right, as far as like how we are, fatigue level and what have you, and also in different physical states. Are we unwarmed up? Are we really tuned in? So we want a nice, robust volume here, so to speak, so our mechanics are accessible no matter the circumstance. We don't want to be really fine-tuned. Even if you're a fierce competitor, you don't want that, because then like your window of performance is so small. I mean, if your primary emphasis is defensive shooting, how are you gonna say, hey, I gotta warm up before I train? No. When you go to the range, particularly live fire, you don't warm up. You do your first drill completely cold, safe of course, and make sure also you're not going to pull anything, but unwarmed up, absolutely. There is no warm up, never warm up. It's absolutely counterproductive, and it doesn't build substantive confidence in your mechanics that they're accessible in an uncalibrated, in that unwarmed up state. So that being said, having pliable thumbs, okay, they're kind of mushy, soft, but squeezed together with the chest, creates that consistent bedding so the muzzle returns down consistently. If you have to use little fine muscles throughout here, you're turning the 1,000-mile journey into a 10,000-mile journey. Doesn't work real well. So these are some tips I find for best practices. And one reason I like to have some chest squeeze, all right? So that chest, these pecs are squeezing together. So they're squeezing those thumbs together. And then I'm squeezing in the front just with a C-clamp grip, all right, just like this, is that third objective comes into play. So when there's a boom, the gun is so pre-engaged to the hands that it doesn't get a running start to give that flinch response, okay? And here's a drill you can do yourself. I don't suggest you do this for a class unless you want to demo it, but there's some drills where you can just take your finger, even your pinky, okay? But do it with your finger, your palm at first. Go ahead and fire your gun, all right? And you think, oh my God, it's just gonna break my hand. Well, you'll be shocked how much it doesn't. If you're pre-engaged to it, you're pressed up against it, you pull the trigger, boom, and then you gotta, rack the slide. But you can even work your way up progressively, I can do it with my pinky, just press on it, boom, and I'm shocked how much when it doesn't get a running start, all right, that it's not that effective. Reason I just bring that up, that's very relevant for some brace contact shots and some other things like that. But if you don't let the whole pistol get a running start at the student, at the shooter's hands, you know, meaning a soft grip. Like if you have a soft grip here and pull the trigger, boom, and it jerks like that, boy, flinch just took foothold, all right? Another analogy is, let's say you have a vehicle without airbags, okay? It's kind of important. And you're far away from the glove compartment, the dash, and all of a sudden, boom, and you hit the ditch. Well, if you're far away, you're gonna get that running start, boom, you know, it's just, Jesus, you know, like it's gonna tear you up a little bit. If you're savvy, again, no airbags, and it's gonna get a wreck and you just crunch into it, and, you know, and take the blow and decelerate with it, or it's not coming in and smacking you, you know, it's just like, you're gonna be okay, all right? Similar analogy, physics-wise, momentum-wise, with a pistol when we shoot live fire. So when we're pre-engaged, chest squeeze, you know, all that's boom, all that pre-engagement, all right? And that boom goes off, bam, you know, it's not gonna let flinch take foothold. Of course, you might already have some drills where maybe you start people out with a CERT and then a 22 and then maybe UTM or SIMS or something like that. And then, you know, if you can, reload some light loads. If you're a reloader, you know, before they go, you know, full load, you know, 9mm. I like doing that. If you reload it all, that's actually a really nice option. But, you know, those are some progressions. But you have to still have a firm engaged grip. It can't be loose. So how can you actually test this, say, off the range in the classroom? There's a drill I like to do where I'm going to pretend that someone has a two-handed grip here. And you grab the pistol, and you do not wrap around the front of the sights because it's annoying. Okay, but all you do, if you just watch this, is you torque it a little bit, push. Not hard. Don't try to make them, because then you're kind of making them push down. All you're doing is a little bit of a torque, like a push. Think of it like recoil. You're trying to make the gun recoil. So you push a little bit and you torque a little bit. Imagine there's like a pencil. Okay, so imagine there's a pencil through the trigger guard. Don't do that, but pencil through the trigger guard. And you're just kind of rotating it back and you're pushing it back a little bit. Okay? What does this do? You will find and diagnose immediately if their grip is, you know, quote, sloppy. Meaning, like if it's a little bit of slack right here, sometimes I can look at the hairs in the arm to see if they kind of move back, like real easy. It's a bad grip. How do you correct it? How do you remedy it? But kind of the best thing is to tell the student, okay, just kind of like lock the wrist. Like you kind of like jerk forward like this, kind of like lock your wrists and press together, all right? Or what you can do is say, hey, look, we're gonna do like a weird handshake here. Go ahead and cant your wrist forward, either hand, and you're gonna grab it, and you're gonna try to like cant it back. Say, no, don't let me cant it back. All right, just kind of grab their hand like a handshake, which is kind of, I don't know if we can do that anymore with coronavirus stuff, but anyways, you know, figure something out here. So we kind of cant it so it stays locked forward. This dovetails into a question or an area of preference, I guess. Do you shoot straight arms or bent arms? I've done some testing on this, I don't really care, okay? If someone shoots you know, a little bit bent arm and it works for them, I think that's fine. I haven't seen a performance benefit either way. If they go straight arm like this, fine, fair enough. You know, it doesn't seem to mechanically have much of effect on that ultimate objective of returning the muzzle down consistently. Personally, I like bent arms, all right? And I like to rotate my elbows out a little bit. So when I rotate out a little bit as a final coaching point, the base of my thumbs compress together all the more. Very firm bedding, coupled with a chest squeeze on that upper rear, you know, right and rear quarter flank on the pistol. And it's a nice area to absorb that impact so I don't flinch, and also to return that muzzle down, okay? So anyway, that's a little bunny trail dovetail on straight arm, bent arms. I think I find some people who shoot either way coach that way, okay? If someone comes out and they just naturally extend all the way, I let them, I don't change it. One nice thing a little bit about shooting bent arm is that as they cant the wrist forward, all right, it kind of brings the muzzle back to alignment. So what I mean here is if I go straight arm and I do a full wrist cant, all right, notice how it dips down 6 o'clock. If I bend my arms a little bit, the sight picture comes right up, okay? And I'll keep my arms kind of in this plane right here so you can see it here, okay? But then I like rotate them out, and it kind of looks straight, doesn't it, in the camera there? As I see in a little reference monitor. But that works for me, but that doesn't work for everybody. So let's not be projectionists and do it works for me, it's gonna work for you, right? We gotta kind of coach based on the body type there. Okay, very good. So it's a little bit on grip. All right, so to teach this now and implement it, what kind of works good is to, okay, grab the muzzle, go high, Wrap the fingers in front. Find that real estate. Fill that real estate. Punch out, chest squeeze, C-clamp, and do the same drill. Rip off some shots. They've already done the drill. They already got the target. Everything's kind of, we grease the skid, so to speak, to continue this. So just keep on doing it. Okay, so now it's like the trigger control drill, but now we're just doing it with grip. So they kind of get some reps out there. If you like, you can kind of go around and test them so they're steady or they're locked in. They're not mushy gripped at all. And note, we haven't talked about stance yet. All right, we'll talk about that in a bit, but even if they're doing the weeble wobble stance, which I loathe, but you see like like this, let's not worry about it right now, okay? They're not gonna do so many reps, it's gonna be a training scar or anything like that. We can remedy that a little bit later as you progress very methodically through these fundamentals. Okay, great. Now we got a little bit of grip in place, but how about grip establishment? How do we get this grip going? How do we get it implemented? How do we get it to its final state? Because we don't have time in shooting to like, okay, right now, make it right here, just this, get that over. Yeah, that's good, okay, ready, yeah, okay, boom. No, we just gotta like, boom, punch it out. We gotta establish that grip. So what works really well with a grip establishment is to begin with the end in mind, which was what we just worked on. We have that fully established grip, it looks good and athletic here, well balanced and all that. And we go from this tension, all right, that we have with the chest squeeze and this. And again, if they're doing it right, they can only hold it for about 20 seconds, So like, don't make them hold it for a long time, right? I mean, just because you're not gonna shoot for that long. So it's a little bit of an anaerobic lactate fatigue process, all right, to shoot effectively, to get all those muscles properly engaged. So to go from this tension to instant relaxation. It's almost like you throw a switch. And you can demo this. And your aura, everything about you should go to relaxed at that point, okay? So it's that tension to relaxation, okay? And remember, loose muscles are fast muscles. I think one of the worst things we see in pistolcraft and training is the TBH, trained by Hollywood, where there's all this damn stupid tension. They're walking around. Yeah, it may look good to get some muscles there or whatever. But I mean, it's just this dumb, like useless tension and shrug shoulders and all this. It's just, I look at that and just, it's ridiculous. It's just so, I don't know who teaches that filth, but it's not productive. So loose muscles are fast muscles. Like when you're full extension, yeah, you're kind of locked in there. My legs are loose, but now it's loose muscles, all right? All that tension is gone. One coaching point you can look at is your shoulders. If your shoulders are still shrugged, there's unnecessary tension. Just drop them, take a breath out, all right? So what you notice, when you have that perfect grip and you come back, relax muscles, all right? And again, they may want to hold it like this, like you don't have to, all right? You have the pistol, all right? This can hold a lot, like if they're, if you do a quick little drill on retention on this, it's not really a retention drill as far as, grabbing a gun, fighting for the gun, make it a gunfight, not a fight for the gun. But if someone's holding a pistol, just kind of grab it and just kind of move it around, just enough. Like they're holding it like a hammer. I've heard that before. That's good enough. It's not, I've never had a gun fly out of my hand. Even if like hitting a door, something like that, doing some kind of some crazy drills. So you don't have to like over grip the dang thing when you're not actively engaging a target, okay? So you come back from full extension, back, holding the gun like a hammer, but not crazy hard and tense or anything. And you go back, keep the support hand engaged until it's about to come off. Now, and try this for yourself if you would. Physiologically, note what is the last thing on your support hand, your left, you say your right hand, but left hand. What is the last thing to engage the gun, to touch the gun? As I just go back, let's say to a holster, all right? Or it doesn't matter if I'm going to a table, if I'm going to appendix, whatever. The last piece of flesh to touch and engage the pistol on the inside of your body side, all right, this would be my left side, is that top of my finger, that index finger. That's the last little piece of flesh to touch the gun. Well, guess what? It's a pretty good index point to be the first thing to touch the gun, right? So it's the first little thing to touch the gun, and then you roll into your grip. Now, I've said this before, so I'm kind of repeating from other stuff. So if you've seen this before and it's boring you, I do apologize. But here's the thing. Common deficiency is to pull out and just like slap the hand on. See what you did there? You see what I did at speed there? So I grab and I just kind of slap the hand on. It's hard to get consistent because it just kind of comes on and this is your first, it's very difficult, but it's very natural to slap the hand on out here because that's sort of, again, as hairless apes roaming the earth, it's how we do things. We kind of grab like this, we catch like this, right? It's a little bit unnatural, not wildly unnatural, to think about just getting your mitts on the pistol as soon as possible. So in this case, I'll just go in from draw here, but you draw the pistol, all right? As soon as possible, right after clearing garment, all that yada yada stuff, I get the support hand on, and I get it in that one spot. So what is that one spot? How do I locate that one spot? How can you teach them to find that spot? Well, simply go to the full grip, relax, go back to say like it's compressed ready or whatever, or back to this compressed tie ready, okay? And you can go ahead and push the inside of the trigger guard into their index finger and then pull it away and there's a little mark there, all right? Don't push too hard and hurt them, all that stuff, right? But there's a little mark, and that mark is a great little index reference. For me, it's just inside my second knuckle. So I can hit that mark, and then I roll right into the grip. And think about it, from that one contact point, you can play with it yourself. You have that one contact point, it kind of rolls into tightness, as you kind of extend out. You almost cannot screw up your grip at that point. And I analogize it like this, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Imagine you have a tarp, okay? And you have a 10 foot by 10 foot garden, and you have a 10 foot by 10 foot tarp, and you want to cover it, whatever, kill the weeds for the winter. Okay, whatever you're doing. Okay, so you can actually throw the tarp in the middle and twist it, fore and aft, left, right, orientated, and it'll eventually get corner to corner, line to line, and it will get there, okay? But isn't there a more efficient way to lay that tarp out? How about we take one corner, okay, and a 10 spike, and pound it down, and then we just pull the other corners right to their spot, right? They can only go right to their spot. They can torque a little bit, but pretty much they're gonna go like boom, 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 and you're done, okay, laid out, very efficient way. One index point, everything else falls in place. It's kind of the concept we're doing here. We don't just want to slap the tarp on and be like, left, right, middle, sack, yeah, okay, that's good. No. Inefficient, slow, unreliable, not predictable, not repeatable, all right? Find one contact point, extend out, roll into it, and it just you can't screw it up, And I really strongly believe in this. It's something that, again, all this stuff, validate for yourself, And it probably doesn't change a lot of what your mechanics are already, but it might put it in a framework where it's either easier to relay and easier to self-diagnose and self-check yourself if something's off. Like, God, that just felt weird. Well, why did it feel weird? Well, I didn't really establish grip properly, as I was doing my grip establishment. So that is starting to get some grip. So here's the drill on this. They extend out, they roll back, all right, and then they roll back into their grip. And they roll back, and they roll back in their grip. And you can have them shoot or not, whatever you want to do. Sometimes it's nice just to not, so just kind of roll out, okay? And then you can have a little bit of fun and say, okay, now from this compressed tie ready, after they do some of this a little bit, look at the target, close your eyes, roll out, and then open your eyes. And see where the sights are at that point. You can introduce sight alignment a little bit, okay, if you want. Another progression on that, you say, hey, don't do this on the range, this and that, because we want to be accountable for our shots. But this is a drill, this is a progression, this is training. Tell them to break the shot and pin the trigger, all right? Again, they're not going to do it so often. It's a training scar, all right? But what this looks like is they're going to close their eyes, okay? They're going to punch out and then pin the trigger, open their eyes, and see where they're at, okay? It's kind of building their natural point of aim. Remember, one of our fundamentals of grip. And it's also saying, hey, look, you don't always need your eyes to shoot, all right? And you can talk about point shooting, index shooting. You can talk a little bit how if you're in kind of in the defensive, mindset, bit of instruction, that a lot of people don't look at their sights when it's in, or if it's a direct threat. If it's if someone's assaulting someone else like their kids, then yeah, it's a little bit more easier to look at sights. But if something's coming at you, it's generally just more instinctive shooting. There's some psychology on that. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this. But there's a lot of controversy over use your sights, don't use your sights, or whatever. I always see my sights. You know what? So anyways, but point being, either way, but use your sights or not, if you have good natural point of aim, guess what? Your sights are already there, all right? You don't have to like be finding them or anything. It's like, boom, oh yeah, there's my sights. Yeah, boom, easy, send it. So that's just kind of how that all merges and comes together. So it's fun. You can get some drills on this. The next progression on this, of course, is to go from back and just have them separate their hands a little bit. Okay, not much, just a little bit, few inches. Come back and then roll out and cook off the round. Okay, hit that a few times and we're getting towards grip establishment. Now, few options here, but one thought I would strongly suggest is the notion of sequencing. Sequencing being sequencing is a general I learned this from Dave Savigny actually, but it's a general notion that instead of doing one task, then the next task, then the next task, kind of like a pure, waterfall, kind of like a Gantt chart if you have any project management stuff. Like, quick side example, let's say like you're just putting a ditch, digging your ditch or whatever, and like, okay, we're gonna dig the ditch, then we're gonna order the pipe, I'm gonna get the pipe, lay it, then bury it, So it's like all these steps. Well, isn't it a little more efficient if some of those steps kind of overlap a little bit, the most they can, so that time shrinks down like an accordion, okay, stacked over. So we're gonna start digging the ditch. We kind of get our handle on that. Hey, let's order the pipe. Hey, okay, we're done digging the ditch. Hey, the pipe's here, let's lay the pipe. Okay, it's being laid. Hey, we have 50 feet in, let's start burying in this back end. So we start burying the pipe, Okay, we're done digging and we finish burying. Okay, so we just shrunk everything. All right, that's kind of the concept of sequencing, if that makes sense in a project-like sense. Okay, why is this important? Why is this relevant? Well, sequencing is very relevant in every element of shooting, and it's very relevant right here with prepping the trigger upon presentation. Because, let me demo. When we shoot, do we want to be all the way punched out, then prep the trigger, then break the shot? No, right? It's inefficient. We can start prepping that trigger upon presentation. If we've made a commitment, conscious effort that we're going to shoot that target. It's what we're going to shoot, it's our target and all that in full context, right? Now, do we want to prep the trigger early? So I come out and I prep and it's going to come all the way up, then find it and then I cook off the round? No, safety, right? We only put your finger, on the trigger when ready to shoot. Well, I'm not ready to shoot when I draw, and right now I can't even do it right now. Okay, I can't even put it on my finger. It just doesn't feel right. Okay, but you can only put your finger on the trigger when you're reasonably aligned that muzzle, and then the take-up laser comes on, and then of course final sight alignment or final confirmation by feel of grip, depending on range and context, and cook off that round. Okay, so the drill is quite simple. It's quite simple. They're going to do the same drill. I'll face camera here. So they're going to come out when the muzzle, and I don't like to use the term feel too much. Sounds a little Bruce Lee-ish, right? But when the muzzle feels aligned, start getting your finger on the trigger and prepping the trigger. So it looks like this. I'll aim above the camera so the red laser hits the lens if it doesn't fry out my camera. So as I present out, I prep. All right, it's reasonably aligned. I get final sight confirmation, and I cook off the round, okay? So we're overlapping. We're not coming all the way out, then putting our finger on the trigger, all right, and then breaking the shot. We're doing that work of prepping upon presentation right up to that take-up, all right, and then cooking off that round, all right? So let's take a little break here. I'll give you a short little silly story here on this. Right, I didn't quite have an AD, but you can almost, the break was definitely a little bit earlier. I was on a little show, Top Shot, a number of years ago, and near the end there, we were training with the Salient Arms Glock, and it had like a 20-ounce trigger, and I haven't touched a pistol in whatever it was, 4 or 5 weeks, right? A real pistol, like a Glock, and all that. So, I'm doing a little bit of that pre-training there, and I thought, oh boy, this is kind of cool. So, as I spoke of before, train unwarmed up. Well, I'm extremely unwarmed up. I'm extremely uncalibrated. It's been 4 weeks. I'm used to training with my cert and just every day, no joke. All right, so I just want to say, God, I wonder where I am. I'll never be this unwarmed up again in my life. So let me go full speed, grab this pistol and cook off a round, and just see what happens, okay? And again, I am being safe, of course, right? It's not just wildly cooking or putting off the berm or anything like that. So here's the thing though, I didn't really realize it was a 20-ounce trigger, and also it's kind of the take-up was a little bit, a little different and whatever, this is the way it was. So I grabbed the pistol, snap, boom! And the shot, I did not accidentally discharge, but that shot went off quick. Okay, because it was actually a sighted fire shot, meaning I was gonna prep the trigger, get final confirmation of sights, because like 10 or 12 yards. But, boom, it went off. Well, it's a 20-ounce trigger, tricked out and all this and that. So, I would never do that in a defensive scenario or whatever, but I'm just saying for training purposes, I want to see where I was at. Anyways, making a short story long, there was a little shoot and see target there, and I was like 2 inches, I think 6 o'clock on the target, really, really dialed in. And I think the guy, Matt Siglock, the RO, whatever, big old Marine, really cool dude. I kind of look at him like, and I kind of played it off like, yeah, that's just how I roll, but really that was because it was fast, like crazy and accurate, but it was kind of beyond my ability. But the learning point on here is for me completely uncalibrated and cooking off that round, my natural point of aim, all right, my ability to get the finger on the trigger at the correct time, it was definitely good enough to be totally within an acceptable accuracy zone, a defensive accuracy zone, okay? Powerful point for me because it was a very, very externally unique circumstance. So anyways, that's a little side story, cut out, look at an itinerary, skip it if you want to. But anyhow, it's interesting stuff. So some of the controversy, so to speak, don't put your finger on the trigger till you, fully align the muzzle, till you fully, get your eyes on the sights and you do all that. I don't think that's best practice because you're robbing yourself of crucial tenths of a second. And beyond that too, when you're prepped up on extending the pistol, you've done a lot of the work, and instead of slapping that trigger, the shooter is in much better position to just give that final little bit of pressure and then cook off the round, okay? And be more accurate. So your speed and accuracy is both just supremely optimized. So when I come out here and I prep up and I cook off that round, everything's right there. I just got that extra few pounds of pressure, all right? And it's not like hit the wall and do that characteristic like boom, that red and green Christmas-like, slap, which generally follows with a low left shot, or generally leads to a miss, okay? So that's just a progression on grip establishment you can do, which works really, really well for beginners. And I'm telling you, this may sound like advanced stuff for like the 3rd or 4th class, but I'm just a stickler and a believer that we're so much better off starting out with solid mechanics and concepts early on, because it's not that advanced. It really is not anything we've talked about here, but boy, it puts these students on a glide path for mastery. It's good stuff, really good stuff. Okay, so next progression on this is a few different branches, but you could go right into draw. If you're kitted up with, preferably a few certs and all that, but also some holsters, like some paddle holsters, cheaper ones, it's not a bad idea to go to draw. Generally speaking, I think 3 o'clock carry is what a lot of people might do, but I honestly like to go appendix carry and just demo from appendix. And one thing that works too is like those little sleeve holsters that can be tucked into the pants of a lot of people, and they can go from that. Now they want to use those sleeve holsters, and also like sticky holsters I use, from Big Mike there. You want to go, 4 o'clock carry or hip, they can do that. So you can kind of keep the class going, have them get some reps at clearing garment and drawing. So as you know, like with draw, basically, I like to do here is just say, okay, just use monkey paws or what have you. You can go both hands or one hand. I'll say one hand, clear garment. Instead of going like just above the pistol, I like to go like double height. All right, so we got double height here, and I'm showing a little bit of here. But anyways, and then get that pistol around, thumb on top of sight. So instead of trying to drive the thumb into the flesh like you would with an open holster, like a law enforcement holster, where you got all that clearance here, you don't have that clearance, right? It's pressed against the body. So it works very, very well is just to get thumb over sight, finger off trigger, and then as soon as you clear garment, you do all that, you just pop the thumb, okay? So thumb over sights, pop the thumb over, all right? So I grab, withdraw, pop thumb, then I get my support hand on as quickly as possible in that magic spot, establish grip. Mechanics are exactly the same from that point, what we have trained to this point, okay? So we're good to go, good to go. Everything builds upon itself, so teaching the draw is not that big of a deal. Now, of course, there's things you can do, progressions with draw. If you teach this, and I'm getting a little bit advanced, this really shouldn't be advanced because people got to get the gun somehow, right? And if they just get it out of the safe, like where do they put it? You know, if they've got to. So like, you know, using a holster is extraordinarily appropriate subject matter to you know migrate in as quickly as you can. You know, to get it in a holster, cover that trigger guard so you know that gun can go somewhere when it's not being deployed, right? Of course, the progression is you just tuck in, expose your holster, so we're not doing about clearing the garment. We just grab again. Do as you like. You can go thumb in, but thumb over sights I think works well. Withdraw, boom. Support in on, prep, break, hit target, kick butt, all the good stuff, okay? So, all right, because that's a little bit on draw there. So another block of instruction, of course, and this is kind of getting real basic stuff, but is integrating that sight alignment block. If you do sight alignment in your classroom with certs, it works awesome. Here's the thing though, go far away from the target as far as you can. Don't use a small target close. If you need sights, put it in full context. This is actually where it's kind of nice to use full body targets, if you can, all right? If you can't, what kind of works well is just go an 8.5/11 sheet of paper, all right? Which is defensive accuracy, if your primary focus is teaching, you know, a pistol defense. So have a paper. And also take another piece of paper and cut it into fourths. So it's a small little target. You can go T-zones and go fancy, but if it's fourth of a piece of paper, you know, whatever that would be, 8.5/11. So 8.5/11, carry the semicolon, you know, whatever, you know, 4 1/4 by 5.5. Like a little rectangle like that, and put that at distance. And you can even put those two targets on the wall, spaced out. All right, so it's about, you know, like, it's 30 inches from belt line to head, roughly. You know, for 28, 30 inches for a lot of humans. So if you kind of figure that and space it, that works good for defensive accuracy target. So let's say you just have that little quarter 8.5/11 target. Let's say you go back 10, 12, 15 yards, whatever your space allows in your training area or your classroom or little gym or dojo type area, and have them shoot that upper small target. So small target, far away. Why do we do this? And in one shot, because it's kind of nice when training to go from one extreme to the other. So we're going from one extreme to more index shooting at this point, right? We're about 5 yards. Don't go 2 yards, just so you know, because if you're too close to a target, then that's kind of problematic as well, because you're in that, you know, retention shooting phase. Here we're really all talking about, you know, freestyle, you know, full extension shooting. And if you get within 2 yards, really people can grab the gun, then we're in another space there, okay? That's a whole nother class and area of making it a gunfight, not a fight for the gun, you know, retaining the pistol, doing G-wraps, retention, you know, all that kind of stuff, okay? Different context, all right? Different full stimulus, different mechanics. So when you're far away, you're gonna take that precise shot. And here's what's nice, as I mentioned before, you have that good natural point of aim. But now you just pull, as you extend out, you pull the vision back to that front sight. And this is stuff I know everyone here's, you know, done a lot of, you know, equal height, equal light, but cook off 1 round on the target, all right? So 1 round on the target. Reason you do this, and this target's too close, of course, but just for purpose of the camera and such. So I'll shoot the little head here. I'm turning off the take-up laser. I'm gonna extend, and as I extend, I pull my focus back, and then I cook off 1 round, okay? 1 round on the target, and then I come back and repeat. Why do I do 1 round with sight alignment drill, this precision drill? Is because One, you kind of want to get just instill like, hey, look, make the shot count. It's all you have. A little bit of scarcity principle, so to speak, okay? And again, it's for a purpose of this drill. We're not building a training scar. You're going to shoot once and holster and then reholster. We're not in that space at all. Secondly, we want to have proper feedback and focus just on that front sight. So as they extend out, they pull them back to that sight, and they'll see the blurry laser hit in their peripheral vision, all right? We do not want the student, to walk in the shots. What I mean by that, they miss and then they kind of walk in the shots, all right? No, this is the one area where that laser can actually be bad because they're cheating. It's if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? So they'll actually take that feedback and get to where they want, but they're not really doing it properly. So that's why it's important for the purpose of sight alignment to instruct one shot, far target, and then reestablish your whole grip from the beginning again, okay? So it works really, really well. So another deficiency you might see on this, an issue, is they'll miss, and they'll whip it up real quick, okay? Here's the thing though, they know they missed, okay? Sometimes you don't even have to point that out because they know it. They're just trying to fix it real quick before anyone sees, okay? It's not a character flaw thing, it's just a little silly human thing. But there's a small percentage of people, for some reason, they don't get it, and they will continue to do that. Like they think they can laze it in. And I don't know what they're thinking, and they're not really low IQ people, but they didn't really figure it out. So watch for some people who keep doing the fix it, well, they'll miss and and bring it up there. They'll miss and they'll bring it up there. They'll miss, they'll bring it in there. And say, hey, look, make sure that first photon that hits is online and don't let it move from there. So watch your front sight, watch your front sight, watch your front sight, and continue pressure and cook off that round, okay? Fun drill. I mean, it's fun. It's really rewarding. It's amazing how addicting it is. And if you want to be really mean, okay, go strong hand only from distance. Particularly if maybe in a cocky class and they kind of think they're all this and that. Well, okay, champ, try to go strong hand only at distance, all right? And what are you doing? You're kind of integrating the skills because all these fundamentals merge together. It's a little bit of trigger control, all right, a little bit of sight alignment, and you bring it together so you get a nice, clean, dot on target and not the crazy oscilloscope-like dashes. So it's just fun stuff, really fun stuff. So hope there's a few nuggets in there you can pull from. What I want to end with here, and where I kind of started with and teased a little bit on, is talk about our search stick. And here's what I want to talk about. This isn't meant to be an ad or anything like that, but we're super excited on this because the AR-15 is such a popular platform. It's a great tool all around, so available out there, so economical. That's why it irritates me when they talk about banning the AR-15 because it's really an attack on people in impoverished, less financial means, because they can get a very, very effective low recoil equalizer here, for cheap. And it's a beautiful tool. So we got a training tool for it. Super exciting on this. Essentially, with our sticks that are coming out probably about the time you get this video, which is really, really soon here, you slide it in, okay, like so, to this lower area, this lower mount. You pivot it up, lock it in. There is an optional little rubber lock here if you're particularly doing combatives with this, kind of beyond the scope of this, but to make sure this latch stays locked. And what do we have? We have a nice rail to put optics on. We got a extendable buttstock, to bring her back and forth there. And above all, we have a functional safety. Any of you who do any rifle craft training, you'll know that probably there's two areas that are absolutely critical with the AR. That is working the selector switch, all right? And of course, understanding and training offset. Let me talk about both those. Let me switch my little rifles here. So I'm gonna use this guy, which has red dot optic on it, and also has a sling. So we have a sling mount right in the stock, and we have a sling mount up in these aren't the final butt stocks, they're actually coming right now, I think, this next week as I record this. So we got a little sling work, okay? And we have a little optic on here for the offset training. And of course we have the safety that's integrated in here to train that. So real basic here. And if you're not a rifle person, this might be very helpful for you in a few ways. I'm not a rifle person, right? I don't know. I mean, I watched, was it Chuck Connor and the Rifleman reruns, of course. I'm not quite that old. And I always noticed when he was in trouble, it's like his rifle, and they build it up like they put the rifle on the pence and he'd go with the horse, and then he'd have to kind of run to it, and then he'd do a kick butt with it. Well, I always figure, why not just have a pistol, because it's always on you. Okay, let's master the pistol, right? I don't know, I'm just, to me, it's just not as exciting as a pistol, all right? But nonetheless, incredible tool to reach out, 300 yards and beyond, and for so much of what this offers. And it's so forgiving. Which is probably why I don't like it. But it's so much easier to shoot and be proficient on, of course, than a pistol. So anyways, all that being said, the reason I bring that up is if you're not in the military, I wasn't in the military or a first responder or anything cool, had never a cool job description, anything like that, don't be intimidated to teach a rifle course, all right? Because we're gonna actually try to come out with some curriculum on this with our a good friend, Gary Drake, Raider Tactical, some best practices how to put on a rifle course, because you don't have to be a master guru at it, all right? But I guarantee you, with your instructor ability, that you will stack the wood pile higher as far as making sure people are proficient, understand just the basics of riflecraft. Mainly, the main two basics is gun up, safety down. Gun down, safety up. All right, this is a basic selector switch. And what's really cool is the way this mechanism works here with our SIRT is actually you cannot, I'm going to kind of break rules here, but you cannot pull the trigger, all right, because there's little bars in the way. But when you go, safety down, you can actually pull the trigger, break a shot. The laser comes out underneath this mock barrel, all right? So you actually get a little bit of offset laser training. So the SIRT does all the heavy lifting here as far as that goes. So anyhow, I don't have time to go into full deal here, but just some basic familiarization and drills, of gun up, safety down, cook off some rounds. And then you can go into some offset drills where you come up close, you kind of come, I got my sight right on the head here. As I go closer and closer and closer, it goes further away. If I come further back, then I close that distance. So you have your sight, say at 100 yards, and the impact, all right? So it's like, it's just like a little triangle. The closer you are to target, there's this 2.5-inch offset. As you get further away, that offset from your optic to the actual bullet impact or laser impact changes. If you know offset and you're well-versed in that, it's not as big a deal on a pistol, right? Because the sights and the muzzle are so close. With a rifle, it's a very, very big deal, particularly when you're in your house and you got to actually put your dot above, what you're shooting at, within these closer ranges, okay? So anyways, these are some basics, which I'm telling you, so many people, there's so many ARs out there, and there's people who could use them more proficiently, okay? I'm not saying they're unsafe or anything like that or paint any kind of picture like that, but there's room there for getting them more effective with that tool, and using an instructor, I think, are well suited for it. So if you don't have a rifle class, which wouldn't surprise me, not many people, instructors do, I would seriously consider it because there's so much fun stuff. Not to mention this basic sling work, movement, platform, these little snap drills, bop, 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 little multi-target drills. Using little things as barricades, stack up some boxes to get some like barricade type training, going like supported knee and unsupported knee, just a lot of stuff like that. There's so much fun training. I'm not a rifle guy, but like the pistol, a SIRT pistol can lie around the house, and train if you have one. You probably know what I'm talking about. This stick, it lies around my house. Okay, this is the black one, but you can get red ones like the other one was, and we can train so much on it. It's just fantastic. Not to mention, let's show you one more little toy here, is put a big optic on it. So I got a older Nightforce, it's a nice scope, right? Nightforce scope, but it's second focal plane. If you're into that stuff, it's meaning the reticle stays fixed, so it's kind of hard to sight with it and stuff, get range targets. But anyways, this big scope on here, oh my gosh, if any of y'all are hunters, and you want to get better at just your offhand shooting, all right? this has just been remarkable. All right, I'm shooting a license plate out in my yard there, and it's just, I cannot believe how good I've gotten in offhand shooting. All right, just using this is an old optic, but say I have an old optic you don't have any confidence in, like an old, like an older scope that just, I think the scope was moving, you take it off because it wasn't really keeping up with recoil or stand locked in or anything like that. Take that thing, put it on this Picatinny rail, jack the magnification up so your natural point of aim of using off eye to sighting eye kind of gets dialed in, and all those skills. And yeah, cook off rounds, see trigger control issues, your stability and all that. It's super fun. It's just, anyways, I just wanted to touch base on that because we're really, really excited and the direction everything is going with rifle, particularly AR-15 platforms. And we think it's a huge opportunity for a lot of instructors to start doing courses and some familiarization and proficiency drills within your little tribe, your little ecosystem, your students. Okay. So, anyways, super fun. I don't think I have one thing to edit. That was a clean through, no edit. I have two cameras here, but yeah. So that felt very fluid. I'm keeping this. I'm sending it off to Julia and gang, and yeah, it's great. It's super. Thank you so much. If you watch this thing all the way through, again, I'm Mike Hughes, Next Level Training, nextleveltraining.com. My email, it's mike@nextleveltraining.com. That one goes to me. Some of the other ones kind of go to customer service, but that one goes to me. Girl in the Gun Club, phenomenal organization. Been with Julia since the start on this. Robin's fantastic. The whole crew, support crew on that. Love the energy. Love the inertia. Love where it's going. Love the creativity. I wasn't going to come this year because I'm busy, because crazy busy and all this stuff. And now I can do it, through video. Great creative solutions here. Hope it adds value and comes close to meeting threshold. So God bless. Any questions? And keep the train moving. Keep those students engaged towards mastery of the pistol and the rifle.